All right, let's get the picks. The Bucks are favored by 4.5 in this one. I am going with the Bucks. Not only because, again, I think this offense and the way that this team has played from week one to now is the trajectory is in the perfect spot, but also Tom Brady doesn't lose games to the same team twice in the regular season. It doesn't happen, and it's not going to happen this week. Cynthia, what do you got?
Well, first, Greg brought up the A word, that's analytics. And then he brought up the fact that Tom Brady hasn't lost against opponents in his division. And I'm going to say all of that is just throwing caution to the wind. I have a 2-point win for the Saints. This is one of my finest, lighted up in gold, as in Saints gold. 2-point win in this one. Why? Because I think the return of Michael Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders is that defense beater that we haven't seen. And remember, Ali Marpet might not be playing, and I love when a guard is out. I mean, I don't love it, but I love being able to project that because sometimes that makes a big difference. And in this case, I do think it makes a big difference. Greg, are you going to be our tiebreaker?
I am. I'm going to take the Bucks by only a field goal. I got to say, though, when Cynthia has an upset of this proportion, I take notice. Everyone at home should take notice, too. And I do think it'll be a little closer than people expect. But I think you beat the Bucks with deep passing. That is not exactly the Saints' strength. So Bucks get a close win. Ricky, what do we got next? You also said Russell Wilson was going to win the MVP this year. He is on track to do so. That's why I got the Seahawks winning in this game 30-24. I just haven't seen the game this season out of the Bills defense that makes me think they're going to stop a top shelf offense. It hasn't been there. They are not the Bills defense of old. They're also without linebacker Matt Milano this week, and that is a big loss.
Matt Milano, a great BC guy. I have 29-25 Seahawks in this one. The interesting thing that I thought you'd bring up, Hawk, what about that DK Metcalf chasing down Buda Baker scene? Because that's one of my favorite highlights from the entire season so far. I think that's the kind of thing we see this week again. Who do you have?
I love it. And just to take it all the way back, my favorite bill is the $100. But my pick is the Seattle Seahawks. To Greg's point, with Carlos Dunlap in the lineup, also Jamal Adams, but they're going to get more pressure on Josh Allen, and hopefully that brings their average of 358 passing yards against them per game down enough for the Seahawks to get a W. Ravens are favored in this one by 1.5 points. I'm going with the Ravens. In the other matchup, sneaky matchup, this is for Greg, and a little foreshadowing that I'm looking for is the J.K. Dobbins against Jonathan Taylor. It's their fourth time playing. They're both two Big Ten running backs, so just want to throw that out there. What do you got for me, Cynthia?
All right, so I have a 3-point win for the Ravens, a nice kind of get back on track situation when it comes to a little bit of help in the run game for the Colts, though, but it's not going to be enough. I have Lamar Jackson winning this one. I have 3 points in this game. Maybe it comes down to like a Justin Tucker singing some opera for us field goal. What do you have, Greg?
I like the Ravens to win this game by 4. After I was defending Phillip Rivers, I do have questions about him against a team that can create pressure because Rivers has faced very little pressure all season, and the Ravens defense is quietly better this year than they were a year ago. I think we're better right now than we were a year ago.
The Titans are favored by 6.5 in this one. I'm going with the Titans. To your point, Greg, that's what I'm looking for is can Nick Foles give them enough on the offensive side of the ball to give them a real chance? I don't think he can, and I think the Titans stop the 2-game losing skid that they've been on. Cynthia, what do you got?
Lots of confusion around the Bears means I pick the Titans 27-20. Fewer confusing things means more certainty in the model. More certainty in the model means a more certain score. So 1 touchdown win, and I think your Derrick Henry call will be a good one for your fantasy team yet again.
Certainty in the model makes me less certain about my 1-point Titans victory. I think this is a coin flip. I think the Bears keep it closer than everyone expects. I know there's offensive line issues for them. There's also offensive line issues for the Titans. They're not the same without Taylor Lewan. So I think the Bears defense makes this a fun one. Cynthia, I know you have some math for us. Cardinals are favored by 4.5 this week. I have the Cardinals winning by 3. This is a thing that Cynthia and I do a lot. That the expected team is going to win, but it's going to be close. I think the Cardinals running game will be fine with Chase Edmonds and Kyler Murray, and that will be the difference against Miami. What do you think, Cynthia?
I think Kyler Murray is the difference, and I'm going to see how many times I can get Buda Baker into our broadcast. So Buda Baker on defense is going to be a huge difference maker at the safety position. Buda Baker, Buda Baker, Buda Baker. I think that's up to 5 in this broadcast alone. 3-point win again for me. Same thing with Greg. We are exactly aligned. Are we making it a clean sweep there, Hawk?
You know what? We're on meme alert because I'm going with the Cardinals as well. Another undercover matchup in this one. Number 1 quarterback versus number 1 quarterback. Jersey numbers, of course. I think this is like the first time that's ever happened. So that's pretty cool, right?
Totally
that's
cool.
Proper, Cynthia?
I would wear number 1. You got to be awesome. You got to have a lot of confidence to wear number 1.
This is a pick'em. There is no favorite. So go ahead and get your coin toss out. I am going with the Raiders. I watched them last week against my Browns. And to your point, Greg, I think this team is a lot better than we give them credit for. The problem is they're kind of up and down throughout the season, but they've won in a bunch of different ways against a bunch of different levels of teams. So I got them in this one as well. Cynthia, what do you got?
I'm reaching for my glass here because this one's one of my finest. There's nothing in this glass, but I think this one is a 2-point win for the Raiders, 28-26. One of my finest. I think Derek Carr is someone you should be playing in fantasy, absolutely. And I think it's going to be a really fun game to watch, kind of like the opposite of when they were playing in the cold in Cleveland, which was still fun, but not. This one's going to be more high-flying, high offense. Greg?
Yeah, I have the Raiders winning a high-scoring game, 3-point margin. So we're all on the same page. Those Chargers fans, if you're still alive after what this poor team has done to you in the last couple of years, will probably be screenshotting us and sending us angry tweets and everything. Because I like the Raiders. I think they're mentally tougher. The Vikings are favored by 4, and I have Minnesota winning by 3. We should point out Matthew Stafford is cautiously expected to start. He's been on the COVID list this week because he had a close contact, but it appears he will start. If he doesn't, then I think the Vikings are going to win by a lot more points. You can check back with us on Sunday morning.
You absolutely have to check back with us on Sunday because I only have a 1-point win for the Vikings as of right now. But we need to get that injury report in because Matthew Stafford would shift things completely, in my opinion, in this one. The thing about the Vikings that I will want to point out, and you should maybe potentially consider, you need to put Dalvin Cook in for like multiple touchdowns. This is a daily note because if you have him in regular, you're going to be playing him anyways. He could have 2 touchdowns in this game. Easy peasy. What do you have, Hawk?
I'm always curious of which Vikings are going to show up. Is it the bad Vikings or the Vikings we see play against the Green Bay Packers? I think it's going to land somewhere in the middle, and for that reason, I have the Vikings winning. Also, Greg, it's only a revenge game if they release you when it's fresh. I mean, you realize everyone's old. If you play long enough, you're going to get cut a lot of times. Trust me, I know. Steelers, Cowboys. Steelers are favored in this one by 14. We're getting right into quick picks here. I'm going with the Steelers, man, and obviously what I'm nervous of is whoever's playing quarterback for the Cowboys this week. This Steelers front seven, nobody's going to be able to block them. That's why they're favored by so much. I'm going to give a score here, too, since it's big. I'm going to say 35-13 Steelers. Way over. What do you got, Cynthia?
30-14 Cowboys. Steelers, of course.
Ooh.
No way. This is an interesting one for me. Only because I have Juju Smith-Schuster not having 58 receiving yards, less than 58. Why? Because the Cowboys have allowed no 100-yard receiver since Dak Prescott's injury, and they allowed 5 100-yard receivers in weeks 1 through 5 when Prescott was playing. So there you go. Juju, less than 58 receiving yards.
Ooh, like that. I have the Steelers winning 28-10. Doesn't really matter who's starting at quarterback for Dallas. Yeah, I hate how they blamed everything on Ben DiNucci as if he was the problem. The offensive line can't protect. The defense has been poor all year. The Steelers, if you've got banged up players, you might as well just sit them. Like, use this as a bye week. They can win this game easily. Let's stay in the NFC East. We have the Washington football team hosting the New York Giants, and Washington is favored in this game. I have Washington winning by just 2 points. So I'm trying to thread that needle here once again. We did it the last time these two teams play. If you remember, the Giants won that game. There were a couple Kyle Allen interceptions, but I think Washington has more talent overall than the Giants, so I'm going to take Washington to win. What about you, Cynthia?
I have exactly the same margin, but it's 22-20 because we're so different here. I think we thread that needle, and I think you do want to make sure to play both Terry McLaurin, who's going to have more than 68 receiving yards, and the Washington defense if you're looking for one in fantasy. McLaurin over 68 feels like something that is going to be like a 100-yard situation. He creeps up into the top 10, 12 receivers for me in fantasy purposes, and he should for you as well. What do you have?
I like McLaurin. Congrats on being the team captain. The kid's lights out. But I'm actually going with the Giants. This was a toss-up for me. And I said, you know what? I have to pick a side of the fence here. I'm just going to hope we get the good version of the Giants that we've seen kind of show flashes against some really good football teams. And then also I'm like, I can make up some of this ground against Cynthia, especially after last week. I need it. Greg's about to pass me for crying out loud. All right, next up, we got the Panthers at the Chiefs. The Chiefs are favored by 10.5 in this one. Obviously, we're going with the Chiefs. I want to see them continue to try to mature their offense a little bit, though. Just don't rely on Patrick Mahomes. They've done a good job of over the last couple of weeks, but I expect them to walk away here with an easy W against Carolina. What do you got, Cynthia?
Well, I have the Chiefs in this one as well. 33-21 is my final score. Remember, Christian McCaffrey is coming back, and he's going to have more than 68 rushing yards. The Chiefs are a team that you can run the ball on. And yes, Mike Davis has been doing very well at the position, but this is one of those games where we're going to get the rust off of Christian McCaffrey, and he projects to have a monstrous game. For me, I think you could probably, slide him into your daily lineup and get a nice discount on him because he's returning from injury, so there is some uncertainty, but 68 happening. What do you have?
Ooh. Like it. I have the Chiefs winning by 2 touchdowns. And Hawk, don't dismiss me catching up in picks. I was catching up on Cynthia last week too. I'm like DK Metcalf, and she's Buda Baker. I don't know where you are. You're back in the mix. And you know what? Patrick Mahomes, he might be like DK Metcalf too, catching up in the MVP race. 21 touchdowns and 1 interception. So watch out for him in the second half of the season. Let's also watch out for one of my favorite sneaky fun teams, the Broncos. They're an underdog this week. The Falcons favored by 4 points, but I have the Broncos winning in an upset. I explained some of the reasons offensively why I like them so much, but they're also really well coached and sound defensively. And they're a team, I think, after that win against the Chargers, are going to start feeling good about themselves. And I think they have more talent than a team in Atlanta that's injured right now. Dante Fowler and Tack McKinley are both out for this week.
Well, I have my finest glass out here again, still empty. The show isn't over yet. 27-25. We have almost the same score yet again.
Wow.
I think the interesting, I know, we're like twins today. This is going to be interesting. I like Drew Lock to have more than 231 passing yards and a touchdown to Jerry Jeudy. That's very specific, but I like both of those things to happen. I think this is a defense that's very targetable. You talked about the players being gone. I think this is the Jerry Jeudy moment to have that touchdown, maybe even like a breakout game with maybe 100 receiving yards.
Okay, I like it. I'm going with the Broncos too, but I'm going to KJ Hamler. Watch out for a KJ Hamler breakout game because they're in Atlanta, in the Falcons indoor, and for quick slot guys on that turf, they get even faster, so be on the lookout for that. All right, next up, we got the Texans and the Jaguars. The Texans are favored in this one by 7. I'm going with the Texans. I think Deshaun Watson has a good game. I mean, it's really of these two teams, it's like who's going to play worse. That's even a tough call to make. But I'm going with the Texans and giving them the edge. I know it sounds harsh, but it's the truth. Cynthia, what do you got?
We got an 8-point Texans win, 28-20. David Johnson with a monstrous game. And an interesting one here because on the other side, because of Jake Luton starting, I have James Robinson also having a monstrous game, over 71 rushing yards. It kind of seems like a counter script type situation because I have them playing from behind. But this is a situation where there's no Gardner Minshew, so you got to run the ball, keep it stable, no turnovers. That's why James Robinson over 71. Greg, what do you have?
Yeah, I have the Texans winning by a similar margin, 30-21. They like Jake Luton. I think he was going to start this game whether Gardner Minshew was hurt or not. I think they wanted to take a look at it, but I just don't trust the Jaguars' defense. And Deshaun Watson has played about as well as you can possibly play at quarterback for a team that's 1-6, so I think they get the W. Finally, Monday Night Football. It's the Patriots and the Jets, a rematch of the Sam Darnold game where he was seeing ghosts. I think he's seeing them again on Monday night, and the Patriots win 20-11. I hate watching the Jets offense because some of the problems you saw in that game from Darnold way back in the middle of last season are still there in terms of defenses change the coverages after the snap, and he just doesn't know what to do. He holds onto the ball. I just don't think they have enough offense. You need to run the ball against the Patriots. I don't think the Jets can do that. What about you, Cynthia?
Well, I have 21-20 in favor of the Patriots. It's close because when you model something, there's a lot of different outcomes. There's a lot of volatility. Now, this assumes that all the Jets receivers are playing, including Jamison Crowder. But I want to point out LaMichael Pirine. So he's a rookie. He's seen increased snaps, 10-plus touches past 2 games. This is a situation where he could potentially be used a lot. They need to see what they have for the future, and assessing him properly is a priority. So for me, I think LaMichael Pirine over 56 rushing yards. That is a nice number for him, and I definitely think the Patriots win this one. But by how much, that's what's more in question. What do you have, Huck?
Ooh, that's a close one, Cynthia. Okay, I'm going with the Patriots too. I don't think it'll be as close as 21-20. If indeed the Patriots get upset and lose in this one, oh man, there is a lot to talk about within that New England organization of the state of the franchise, man.